Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got a video for you about the next Call of Duty game. The rumor is that CoD 2021 is going to be a World War II shooter again by Sledgehammer Games again, so it's kind of looking like World War II Part 2, and I know this seems very odd, but the leaks do indeed look legitimate. Victor Z leaked the title and developer recently, so if you're unfamiliar with Victor Z, he is a longtime leaker with Call of Duty. He's leaked various things about the last 3 or 4 Call of Duty games and been correct every single time. He's got an excellent track record, and while I try not to trust and hard commit to leakers, this guy just has been accurate, and I would say is trustworthy. So what he did is he tweeted out a picture of Call of Duty World War II, and I think it just said CoD 2021 on there, and it had a little hammer emoji, thus suggesting the developer is Sledgehammer Games, and the next game is going to be World War II again. Now, there were a lot of fans that replied to this, and they got little replies with hammer emojis, again suggesting Sledgehammer, and most importantly, some fans ask, hey, are you sure this isn't about World War III? Because there's also a rumor that Call of Duty World War III is coming out soon as kind of like a play on MW3, but he replied very adamantly insisting World War II, World War II, World War II, all the way down World War II. To the best of my knowledge, Victor Z is some kind of Activision insider that just likes leaking things, either for attention or perhaps just to stir up some kind of media hype, and he has some kind of burner account on Twitter and just does this every single year. So he seems to be very, very adamant that it is going to be Sledgehammer Games and that it is going to be a World War II based games. Interestingly, Sledgehammer also had some slightly cryptic tweets themselves about future big projects. They tweet power off, power on, and they've also been on a big hiring spree. Sledgehammer they're in the process of hiring about 100 new employees, maybe a few more, for various offices, not just in San Francisco, but around the world. They haven't hired any specific type of person, but they've rather been filling a pretty wide set of roles related to game development, and they've currently been calling themselves a multi-project studio. So I guess they've got more going on than just one single Call of Duty game. However, it would also be fair to call them a multi-project studio if they were just working in a support capacity on multiple different Call of Duty games. And they're even rumored to be making Warzone on mobile. That's kind of the big rumor that's going on right now, is that Call of Duty Warzone as we know it is trying to be ported to mobile a la COD Mobile, but not COD Mobile because that Tencent, it's its own totally different thing, so we'll be playing Verdansk on mobile. I don't know how that's going to work exactly, but that is a rumor. So let's move along to some things that are more confirmed. And that's going to be all coming from the Activision shareholder call. So they had a shareholder call not too long ago, and the CEO confirmed that a new Call of Duty is coming to the franchise in 2021. For those of you that have played these games more than like 2 years, that should be a surprise to absolutely nobody. There is always a Call of Duty coming, even in the middle of a pandemic, somehow a Call of Duty comes out. Transitional hardware changes, studios get shuttered and brought back to life, we lose studio heads. I feel like a meteor could hit Earth and start like the next ice age where human beings are like fighting for survival in a post-apocalyptic Los Angeles of 2047, and there's still going to be a Call of Duty game coming out. To me, what was odd about the shareholder call is that they continued to refer to Call of Duty 2021 as, I believe the quotes were, a premium COD experience or standalone content. Those aren't exact quotes, but the game was discussed as if it were a premium product. Definitely going to be a $60 game kind of a thing, with a campaign, with an independent multiplayer separate from everything else. And they didn't seem to indicate that Call of Duty was going to be going free to play, that it was going to be just a Warzone expansion or just a multiplayer expansion, but another one of kind of the same of what you would expect from Call of Duty every single year. The nomenclature is a little bit different because now that we have Warzone, which is clearly going to survive for multiple years, you have to call your paid games something different. In that same call, they also did say that Warzone would remain central to the franchise, and that totally makes sense to me because Warzone is probably the most successful COD product that's been made in the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. It might actually be the most popular of the decade, even including the old classics that I know you guys love, because Warzone is extremely popular. The player base is huge, the media impression is huge, and I don't have their figures on their end, but I assume that the profits for Warzone are also huge. Piggybacking off of that topic, it was revealed that the next Call of Duty game, whatever it may be, World War II we're assuming, is going to integrate with Warzone once again, much in the same way that Black Ops Cold War did, that they would launch alongside with each other and cross over in some capacity. So if you're a Warzone fan, I guess in the fall, when the next CoD game comes out, you could expect new maps, new guns, new something, probably a whole bunch of Easter eggs leading up to it, all sorts of little stuff, but I don't know what you would call it, right? Like, I don't know what you, like World War II Zone, Warzone 2, Warzone World 2, too many W's, too many 2's, very confusing. And also, what are we going to do with all the weapons? I don't know how well, like, World War II weapons are going to fit in Warzone in particular, since we've already got modern weapons, and then we've got 80s weapons. Are we going to add in like some old World War II weapons? We have a few of those coming in hot and fresh from not only Cold War, but Modern Warfare 2019, but just like a little handful here and there as kind of like jokes. If we put all them in there, what I would do is I would probably make all of the old World War II weapons the gray ground tier loot, like they would be the old bad janky weapons, the desperate ones that you pick up when you have to use, and the more modern weapons would of course be the better ground loot. That's all for the news. That's all of the news we have about it. It's not a ton, and generally speaking, I do believe that Sledgehammer is working on the next CoD, and I'm going to take Victor Z at face value and say that I believe it's World War II, and I want to offer you some opinions about that. Opinion number one is that I don't think that a return to the past is what people want right now, like at all. These past shooters, these World War II shooters, these old retro shooters have very much so struggled in recent years, much in the same way that like retro shooters such as, what do you call them, arcade shooters, bouncy shooters like Hyperscape have also struggled quite a lot. Even the 1980s COD struggled. I would hate to call the 80s modern. That's about 40 to 30 years ago now, depending on where you want to measure from. But it's still kind of old, and people didn't take to it as well as the developers projected. Right now, the demand is in for modern games, modern shooters. And if you want evidence of that, just look at the Battlefield franchise right now. Battlefield fans are clamoring about Battlefield 6. They're projecting it to be a sequel to Battlefield 4, funny how that works, or Modern Combat, or Bad Company would probably be the most popular thing. But when you look at Battlefield YouTubers, they're posting gameplay of the modern Battlefield games. People on Twitter are going nuts for it, and that's what they've wanted for a long time. And really, that's one of the reasons that Modern Warfare 2019 was successful, is that it was one of the first modern shooter games set in the modern era in way too long. So I think that going backwards in the past is a very risky and probably bad idea. This is doubly risky given how much people ultimately didn't like Call of Duty World War II. Call of Duty World War II started out like decently with hype, but it deflated pretty quickly. The player base dwindled very fast post-launch until they had that post-launch overhaul, which is what, you know, the gameplay you're seeing today is when I got like early gameplay of the Egypt map and the akimbo pistols and that kind of stuff. But the game struggled. It went downhill pretty quickly, but then after the overhaul, it kind of came back and got more popular. But at the end of the day, World War II is ultimately not remembered that fondly in the Call of Duty community, so I believe that making another World War II game, especially by the same developer, would be similar to making Call of Duty Ghosts 2, or Advanced Warfare 2, or Infinite Warfare 2, or one of these kind of games that just wasn't popular. There would be a tremendous challenge just in marketing the game. If you think about it just from an internet algorithm standpoint, it's going to be difficult to separate the new World War II game by the same developer from the old World War II game by the same developer. And then even algorithmically, when COD World War II came out, we had problems on YouTube with it being demonetized for war and tragedy related content, and we'll run into the exact same problems again with this game. And that's not even considering any of the political messages. The political situation in the United States and even in Europe has been, we'll say, shaky as of late, so making things about World War II is not always popular, and it does kind of divide people against each other. Opinion number 3 is that I really hope the Warzone integration is handled better than the Black Ops Cold War one. The Black Ops Cold War Warzone integration is one of the worst things that I've seen happen to Call of Duty in a very long time. It launched unstable, it launched buggy. We still have a lot of weapons that are either completely overpowered or are poorly balanced at best, or the stats don't say what they say they're going to do. The games just crash a lot. There's a lot of weird animation glitches and stuff. And overall, the new Resurgence map I don't think was what fans wanted anyway. So if you're going to do a Warzone integration, you should use the Black Ops Cold War integration as an example of what not to do. You should launch, if there's going to be a new map that launches with it, the map should be very stable and good condition. It shouldn't crash, it shouldn't look weird. The game itself should be stable. It shouldn't be crashing and hitching and dropping frames like mad. The weapons when they launch should be somewhat reasonably balanced. I get that that's a challenge, right? Like it's never going to be perfect. You're always going to have something that's strong and in need of a nerf. But with the Black Ops Cold War integration, they just threw a bunch of weapons in there that were just like ridiculously broken. And then they had the blueprints also broken, sometimes dealing extra damage for no particular reason because they weren't nerfed, because they're in a different SKU across 2 different games. We don't want that in the game. We don't want the weird reloading glitches where you can't reload your guns. We don't want the sight glitches so that they don't have a glint when they're sniping. And it would be really nice if when the new content goes in that the in-game stats would actually do what they say they're going to do. So when you put like a grip on a gun, you know it's going to work. Or if you put this barrel on your gun that says it increases range, it would be great to have it actually increase range instead of decrease it. So whatever Warzone integration they're doing, I hope they do a much better job than whatever in the world happened with Black Ops Cold War. Opinion number 4 is a short opinion, which is I really hope that it's next gen only. I know that's really kind of douchey for a lot of you on last gen consoles, especially given the lack of availability well into probably late 2021, and a lot of you don't want to upgrade, but having Black Ops Cold War be on 5 or 6 different systems, if you look at it in total consoles, it's like 10 different consoles because there's multiple different versions of each console, and then you have people buying a disc, and then an upgradable disc, and a non-upgradable disc, and cross-gen versions, and cross-play and cross-gen, and cross-invites, and cross-accounts, and cross-leveling. There's ultimately too much crossing going on. Not only did it strain the development time and resources for Black Ops Cold War, which ultimately made it a worse game, but it did bad things to the friends list, to the in-game graphics, and it just confused a lot of people. A lot of people bought things and then they didn't understand why it did or didn't work on other systems. So I would rather have it just be next gen just for simplicity purposes so that when you get a product it works normally and we don't have any weird upgrading problems. Then number 5, this is almost leading into an entirely different video. I hope that they do some actual quality of life improvements in their game. For example, right now, the friends list doesn't work very well in Warzone and Cold War. I struggle to invite people. If you're going to have a ranked mode, it should be available at launch, and it should have an actual elo system instead of whatever this bizarre thing that we've had the last couple of games. Better servers, better netcode, very efficient rendering. There's a bunch of different stuff that you could do with your levels, your unlocks, your tokens. I'll probably put a lot of this in the upcoming like wish list video for the next COD. But realistically, Call of Duty is way overdue for an overhaul, just like a tune-up, like taking your car to the mechanic, getting an oil change, getting a few little optimizations here, some quality of life improvements, like ping numbers and stuff like that. There's a lot of great little things that they have plenty of time to add that I hope that somebody takes time to add. I hope that somebody, instead of squeaking in the 9th multiplayer map and 14 additional pieces of content, that they just put the brakes on that and work a little bit more on the fundamentals of the game and the menus and the systems. And I think a lot of people will be very happy with that at launch. Guys, that is all for this video today. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.